Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the furthest of them all? Well, it's definitely not me. Yes boys, welcome back to the channel. I'm doing some invasions on my build that I like to call The Thing. I've given it a couple of new weapons. We're using 2 Blood Fiend arms, the big turkey legs. I've got a few different Ashes of War that I like using, and then I've got some Dragon Communion Incantations, as well as the new one, Bale's Flame Lightning Strike. It's a beast, look at it. It's glorious. They're the stats, guys, they're the talismans. We're a level 200 build, high vigour. We're an arcane build at 60 arcane, and then we've got 50 strength. And that's the flask that we're using to boost our damage negation and boost our stamina regeneration. Let's get into the video, guys. Enjoy the invasions. Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an absolutely awesome day. We've been doing some invasions on The Thing. This is one of my builds that is horror inspired. I've got a few builds in my arsenal that are a little bit freaky, that are all inspired by some aspect of horror or horror creature type thing, and this is definitely one of them, The Thing. It's my homage to some of my favourite cinema in monster movie horror films, such as, you know, Jeepers Creepers. I've just been watching Alien Romulus, that was awesome. Just horror films with monsters in them, guys. I love creature features, I love monster films, and that is what kind of gave me the inspiration for this build. I wanted to make a character that was just a complete abomination and uses some pretty nasty techniques for combat. Now, it did look a little bit different to this previous to the DLC coming out. On this build, I've done what I have done with all the other builds that I've taken into the DLC. I've given him a little bit of a makeover. I've put some new armour on him, give him a little bit of an upgrade with how he looks, and I've also given him a couple of new weapons. Now, although the weapons are new, it's still pretty much quite a similar playstyle. Previous to this iteration of this build, I was using 2 colossal hammers still in the Trolls hammers, I believe I was using 2 of those big boys, and now I'm using 2 Blood Fiend's arms. So it's quite a similar play style. I was using a lot of the same incantations. I've just added the new Bale incantation, the big lightning strike. So like I say, you know, it's pretty similar. I've just tweaked the stats slightly, took a little bit of pointage off strength, took a little bit off endurance, and just pumped the arcane up. I'm just pumping the arcane up to 60. Just to suit the incantation of the new Bale incantation that I needed. And then because I was using such high arcane, I decided to go more into a bleed build, and I blood infused the 2 Blood Fiend's arms. And yeah, it's just working out really well, making the most of the stat allocation, and it's given me some really good combat options. I just want to quickly mention, guys, that the channel's been doing quite well lately, and we've had quite a few new subscribers, so if you're new around here, welcome in. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. But if you like the content and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to make a big push towards a massive milestone of having 2,000 subscribers now. I think I'm about 300 away, and then we'll be hitting that big 2k number, which would be absolutely amazing. But either way, guys, I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone who stops by and watches the content. It really does mean a lot. So I did mention earlier that I put some new weapons on this build, and as you can see we're using the two big turkey legs, two Blood Fiend's arms. Now I've been quite interested to try these weapons since I found them, since they came out in the DLC. I've seen people using them and they've always looked really interesting, so I have been looking forward to sticking them on a build. It was just always a question of which build would these weapons suit. So I was brainstorming, I was taking my time, you know, playing through the DLC with a few of the other builds that I've been playing with, tweaking all those slightly as we've been going along. And in my head I'm always constantly thinking about, you know, what I can do with my other builds. And then I kind of had this light bulb moment where I thought about the Thing, and I thought that he used two big colossal weapons. He was already using two big Troll's hammers, and then I thought that the Blood Fiend's arms, they're also colossal weapons. So I had this brainstorming lightning bolt moment where I could just replace the two Troll's hammers with two Blood Fiend's arms, and it kind of wouldn't be changing the build too much in terms of playstyle. We're still getting that double colossal moveset. It's just opening up a little bit of a different feel to it than it was previously. I still think it really suits the theme of the build, which is that kind of horror creature feature, really kind of weird theme that I was always going for with this build. The Blood Fiend's arms fit that perfectly. Talk about having a weapon that's come right out of a horror film. I think these weapons fit absolutely down to a T for what I wanted. So it really does fit in with the theme of the build. Like I say, you know, I've gone high in on the Arcane as well, because I always wanted to add the new Bale incantation to this build, because I was already using some dragon spells on it. So I thought it was a really good choice to use the Bale spell as well, the lightning strike incantation. It's a really big hard-hitting incantation, but I did have to tweak it slightly in terms of the stats. I had to put a bit more investment into Arcane, so I just thought, let's just commit, let's go all in as an Arcane build. Let's step away from a pure strength build pretty much that we was before. I did already have a small amount of Arcane investment on this build previously with the dragon incantations, but the Bale incantation needs 53 Arcane I think, so I decided to just pump the Arcane up to 60 and really commit. So I blood infused the Blood Fiend's arms, and it's turned into a bleed / dragon build. Still sticking with the horror theme, and I think the dragon incantations suit that horror theme as well. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how it's all turned out. The Blood Fiend's arms are really cool weapons. They're a little bit short range. I think they're definitely shorter than the Troll's hammers, but using two colossal weapons is always going to be a little bit tricky when it comes to range. They're not the best at chase downs, but what they do is hit really hard. I've been using a few different Ashes of War on these, mainly Endure on one of them, and then the other one I'll either have Storm Stomp or I'll have the new Savage Lion Claw Ash of War, which just hits really hard and helps build up the bleed aspect of the weapons. I've been switching those out between different invasions. They all work really well. It's just good for a bit of variation having three to choose from. Endure can be really good for using that to poise through into some of the dragon incantations for some big damage, and then Storm Stomp speaks for itself. It's pretty good when I'm being pushed. I can use it and then try and land some big damage with the two Blood Fiend's arms. Either, you know, put Storm Stomp into a heavy attack, because the heavy attacks are quite unique on these weapons, doing that big splash of bleed damage, or I can always just try a Storm Stomp into a normal attack. Either way, great weapons and a great little change to this build. I made the decision on this build quite early on to go with the double seal option yet again. I've done that on quite a few of my builds lately. Mainly speaking of the lightning build that I did, I was using 2 gravelstone seals to really boost the damage of the lightning spells. And I think with how the game is currently, invasions are so difficult, especially at this high level of level 200. Everyone's doing insane damage, the ganks are really hard. So I have no shame now in making my build as strong as I possibly can, while still trying to keep them quite different and quite quirky when I can. But I've decided to put the 2 seals on there just to boost the damage of these incantations as much as I can. And speaking of the incantations, I'm really happy with the few that I've got. I've got Catch Flame on the build because, as I mentioned earlier, these weapons aren't the best for chase downs. So Catch Flame is really useful when I get someone low health. I can chase them down, put the pressure on and try and finish them off with Catch Flame. After that I've got the good old Grey Rolls Roar, the big shout incantation, the big dragon shout. It's really good for crowd control and area damage. Just a classic incantation really. I really enjoy using it, and as you can see in this invasion now, we hit the Endure and then we go out with the Grey Rolls Roar. Unfortunately there they actually stun me out of it, which is a bit strange, but usually that works a treat, and Grey Rolls Roar hits for some big damage. After that, like I said earlier again, I put the new Bale incantation on, one of the 2 options, the big lightning strike, and that thing is absolutely awesome. It's such a fun incantation to use. It hits like an absolute truck, but it does have its drawbacks. You can see it coming from a mile away, plus it's very short range, a lot shorter range than you might initially think when you first see it. What I actually started doing on this build to catch people in it was that I'd use the Endure and I'd wait till someone is being really aggressive on me, and then I'd try and hit them with it. If you're going to try and use it as a roll catch or use it when someone's at any kind of distance away from you, you're probably not going to land it. But what I was doing, like I said, is waiting until someone got really aggressive, and then I'd try and use it on them in conjunction with Endure, and that's when I started having a lot more success with that particular incantation. Finally, I've got the new Dragon Breath incantation on there as well, in the Ghost Flame Dragon Breath incantation, the big fire breath one. That's just for when I feel like, you know, if I come up against a 3-man gank, or if I think, you know, it's just a perfect time to use it if someone's running away. If someone's sticking at a distance and I think, you know, it's a good chance to get some damage using that particular incantation, that's when I'll use it. The Ghost Flame Breath, you'll see me using it now. Just a good bit of damage. And to be honest, I used to absolutely hate these spells, and I still do when people spam them. They're just horrible. But I try and use them situationally. You know, if someone's, if I feel it's right, if I feel it's the right time to use it, I'll use it. But I'm not going to stand there and just spam it in every invasion. So yeah, the incantations on this build all hit really hard, and they all suit the theme down to the ground. All being dragon incantations minus Catch Flame, and they just all work together so well. So yeah, a mixture of the incantations, the weapons, and the overall look and fashion of this build. I think it is just really good. It's a proper fun build. It's not one of the stronger builds, like I've said. These weapons are quite slow. It's quite an easy build to play around if you've got any brain cells in your head, which most people do actually seem to have these days. So, you know, it's quite easy to play around, but if I can keep the pressure on and get the upper hand in an invasion, it's capable of doing some big damage. But there's only a few more invasions left in the video, guys, so I'll let this one play out. You enjoy the rest of the video, look after yourselves, look after each other, enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're doing. Hope you've enjoyed this one, guys, and take it easy. I'll see you all in the next one.